Hi people, it's Daniel from Devil & Sons Guitars here, and today in the A to Z of guitars, we're on H. H for humbucker. So here I have three different looking humbuckers, but essentially exactly the same thing. This is one you might recognise. It looks a lot like just two single coil pickups, very closely put together. This black solid one looks like there's some mysterious stuff happening inside, and this chrome one is slightly reminiscent of the first one I pointed out, because it's got the visible poles, but only on one side. Now, these poles have got screws on it, and the reason they've got screws on it is you can literally turn them to adjust their height in and out, and that's how you change the distance between the pickup pole and the string. And that's how you'll get a more uniform sound between them all, because the closeness of the pole to the string, the stronger the signal is. And with like a bass string on your lower E compared to your top E, the bass string's probably thicker and going to ring stronger. So you're going to have a louder signal, which is why you might have this one pulled back a little bit. Now you can see what's happened when I've turned it, because I haven't turned these before. Some wax has come out, which means that these have been wax potted. Again, something for another video, but essentially that's when you put wax on the inside of the coils to seal it all up. Helps reduce some of the hum, helps seal everything in together. Now we can see on the back here, the screws coming through on that side. This is covered by a metal sheet. What I'll do is open up the black one and we can look at it. Essentially though, a humbucker is two single coils put together to do what they call buck the hum. Buck the hum, cancel the hum out. Now with the hum, explained a bit in the single coil video, but essentially pickups are electromagnets. And as we open this up, we'll see that electromagnet is essentially a magnet, in this case 6 poles that are magnetic, or 6 poles that are metallic attached to a magnet at the bottom, so they become metallic, wrapped around in pickup wire. And that wire becomes like the electromagnet. The more it's wound around the magnet, the more of an electromagnet it becomes. And what we find is it's really good at picking up the waves, the sound waves, the vibration of the guitar strings over the top and converting them into electricity in the form of tiny electrons moving. Annoyingly, it was glued at the top into the inside. That's why it didn't come out. So this very cheap one, where the poles are, it looks like an Allen key would fit in there and be able to turn those poles. In fact, I can almost turn them with my screwdriver. Now, as you find with most pickups, there's something wrapped around the edge to help seal in the coil. And this is a tape, a cotton tape that's adhesive on one side. Let me find the end of it. And there we can see 2 single coil pickups put together. Let me unscrew the metal plate at the bottom so we can see what's going on there. Great. Now, it's a metal plate, so it has got a bit of solder, soldering it to the pickup and pickup wires where the earth is, and the earth will then, the ground will then solder to the ground of the components in the guitar, so that will make sure that this is grounded to help reduce the hum. So what you can see here is there's the 6 poles for each of the single coils of the pickup, and they're not actually magnetic, but they are metal and they're touching the magnet in the middle. Now I'm going to take the magnet out just to show you something about the magnet, which is really important for how a humbucker actually works. So I've just stuck on the magnet, another magnet that I had, and you can see this magnet has an indent there because actually it's got a space for a screw and it's recessed, so it's countersunk. Now it's stuck fine onto that side of the magnet, but if I try and put it on the other side, it won't stick because it's got that repulsion, because one end of this is positive and one side is negative, which means that when it goes on the poles here, one set of poles now is positive and one is negative. They're opposites to each other. And that's what makes the humbucker work. That's what makes the humbucker get rid of that hum that you get with the single coils, the hum of picking up, because it's an electromagnet, of picking up background interference from the mains, what we might call the 60 cycle hum. If you're an American, there's a different cycle in other parts of the world, like a 50 cycle, but it's that hum that it picks up and other background radiation. So here on one of the single coils, I can see the tape that's wrapped around it. So I'm going to try and pull that off. Because they're taped together, stuck together, it's a bit awkward. Here we go. Let's pull them apart. You can see it literally is two single coils put together. Oh, and I've accidentally just ripped it from the cable, the electrical cable. But essentially what this was, and it's a cheap one so I don't mind that, what this has got on it are those fine coils that I mentioned. So it's one wire coiled around lots and lots of times. Now what normally happens on a humbucker pickup is the poles or the magnetic pieces are reversed from each other and the winding of the bobbin is reversed. And by that we mean either one pickup is wound clockwise and one's wound anti-clockwise, or more likely they're both wound anti-clockwise but they're wired up differently, so that one end of the coil is the sort of positive on one and one end's the negative, so they're wired up opposite to each other, or they're linked up to this lead opposite to each other. And the reason for that is quite simple. Let me do a quick drawing for you. On my other videos I've gone high tech with computer graphics, but here I'm going to just draw it. So imagine we've got the signal going into one of the single coil pickups and it looks like this. And now because the other single coil is right next to it, imagine it looks exactly the same like that. Then the combined output of those two signals is actually going to be the two signals added together, which means it's basically going to double in height going above, double in height going below, double in height going above, double in height going below. And that's what's happening with the magnets. The magnetic poles are getting the signal of the string moving. I've explained in my electricity video a bit more detail about that, but they've taken the signal of the string moving on both pickups right next to each other, so that it's almost identical, and then it's been amplified because they've both been added together. Now, when we look at the coils, because the coils are wrapped in the opposite directions, what it does is it changes the phase, and that means one of the signals is like this and the other one is pushed. So instead of being like this, it's pushed along. So this bit is now here and not coming out very well, but it's basically the opposite. Because it moved along, it becomes the opposite and it cancels each other out. So what we actually get as our output. If you like these videos, maybe you could send me a PayPal donation so I can buy some new pens. Anyway, when they're out of phase, they cancel each other out and you get no signal. If we go back to these, so you see that they were wired up before I broke it, and they can be either wired up in series, so that means one wired into the other and then down into the signal of the guitar, or they can be wired up in parallel, which means both of them equally go down to the signal of the guitar. It doesn't really make much difference, but series I think is the most common. Now in 1955, Gibson applied for a patent on their design for humbucking pickups, although actually when they got the patent, it was the same time Gretsch got theirs, but the humbuckers from Gibson's actually put in their patent first. Now, some of the old Gibson pickups will have PAF written on the back, PAF pickups, patent applied for. That's what they became known as. These Gibson ones are T-tops, and they were slightly different. These ones are from 1979, but that was right towards the end of about 20, 30 years when Gibson were making these. Very slightly different from their Pat pickups, because the bobbins are slightly bigger. But what I like about these is look at the coil on the wire here. Really cool. I'm just waiting for the right project to use these on. And don't forget the H that you saw at the very beginning when I was introducing humbucker. That is from a guitar brand logo. The first letter of the brand. Do you know which one it is? At the end of this month, February the 28th, 2021, I'm going to give a breakdown of all of the different letters that I've shown you throughout this A to Z. Keep a track of which ones you think they are and tune back in then to see if you've got them right. Great, thanks for watching. Don't forget to thumbs up if you liked this video and found it interesting. And if you did, I've got a few more videos on pickups coming up in this series of A to Z guitars. So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until the next letter, happy strumming.